Okay, my friend is currently waiting for me on Discord, and I'm going to convert him to Christianity. Now, I'm not a Christian, but I do think Christianity is something needed for the West to thrive. And I think Christianity is what's needed for the West to, what's it called, continue existing. I think Christianity is one of the fundamentals of the West. And yeah, I know, I realize I kind of look bad, but anyway, I'm going to go on Discord. Okay, Andrew. Oh, it's not working.
Twitch some.
Okay, Andrew.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, I'm currently recording. Are you ready to be...
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with a few things. Number one, you actually already told me you believe it is better to believe in God, right? Like, you want to believe in God, right?
I think that it would be, I think that believing in God would improve my life, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree 100%. And you also think it's better for the universe, right? Like, that there is a God, right?
I mean, that's a hard question to answer. I mean, I don't really know the answer to that, so I can't really say, like, definitively yes or no. But I can definitely say that, like, it would be more impactful and more meaningful. Like, it would bring some meaning to, you know, like, why we're here, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with that as well. Now, here's the thing.
To say that it would... No, this is a caveat, though, because...
Okay.
To say that it would be better is like a value statement that I'm not sure I can get behind. Like, I think it would bring some meaning that doesn't currently exist, but that doesn't mean that it would be better.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, I guess the way I see it's like, it would be better for your life, I guess is a better way to put it.
Like, I think my life would improve, yeah. Just me personally.
Yeah, me too. I think your life would improve. The way I see it.
Not that it's bad by any means.
What?
Like, not that my life is bad by any means.
Oh, no, not at all. Oh, not at all, not at all. Okay, now here's the thing. And right now, your parents are both Christian?
Catholic.
Catholics are still Christian, so yes, they're Christian.
Well, my mom and my stepdad. My dad is like... I honestly, I don't really know. I don't think he's like all that religious, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Then I'll convert him next. No, I'm kidding. So, okay, here's the thing. Now, one of the things people make a mistake of, and this is going to sound very blasphemous for me to say, is obviously I am a religious person, so I believe in the holy texts. And I believe what they mean, but obviously convincing you of that is, I don't think, ever going to work. Like, if I try to convince you of the miracle of, Jesus' birth, you're going to be like, oh, what do you mean? How? Like, it's impossible to, get pregnant without a male, right? Like, you're going to say that, right?
Yeah.
Right. And that's fair enough. And this is the problem a lot of people try to make is, again, I believe that actually happened. But of course, again, you can't do that. Now, the way I see it, and this is something that, in a way...
I'll preface that by saying, like,
yeah.
I don't mean to throw you off, but...
No, go ahead.
I do think that, like, unexplainable things happen in the world. Like, that doesn't mean that there is, like, a God that creates miracles, necessarily. It just means that there are things that happen that we don't have a reasonable or logical or scientific explanation for. But unexplainable things happen.
Right, fair enough.
I believe that.
Fair enough. And I mean, to be honest, I do think that that means there is a God, but you're right, there is unexplainable things. Now, here's the thing, and this is something that pretty much convinced me to believe in God. And it might work on you.
Okay.
So that's why I said, because we have similar personalities, ish. Although I would say you're much smarter than I am. Well, not much. You're a little bit smarter than I am.
I wouldn't say smarter. I would not say smarter. I would say more stable.
You're definitely more stable than me. That's
It's not an insult, dude. It's not like I did not mean it at all as an insult. Like, it's not even about that. Like, it's just true. Like, I'm just more, like, not even mentally with it, dude. It's, like, literally just about stability. Like, my personality and my mood and everything is, like, more stable than you. That's just...
Well, of course. And I mean, your life is more stable than me. That's yeah, of course.
Right.
Okay. Now here's the thing. When it comes to God, is see because you're a bit smarter than me, and this
I'm
is just
not, but okay. Thank you.
no problem. You are a bit okay, higher IQ. Okay. There's something. There's certain things in life that are unexplainable, right? And
Yeah.
a smart guy like you would try to find a logical and reasonable explanation for everything. Um,
Yeah.
right. And there's a certain thing. Sorry, I have a bit of a headache. I think I didn't eat. Anyway, there's a bit of thing. Somebody once said, like the difference between a progressive and conservative is that when a progressive sees a fence, like they're just driving, and on the side of the road they see a fence. The progressive automatically wants to tear down that fence, because fences are bad, and we tear down all borders, blah blah blah. While a conservative wants to keep that fence no matter what, and then a centrist or an actual normal classical liberal would actually analyze the situation and be like, okay, why is this fence here? And let's actually figure this out. And then if it's needed, let's keep it. If it's not, let's tear down this fence. And I think most
That's like a general. Yeah. I mean, I would say that's oversimplified, but sure.
very oversimplified, but yes. But see, there's another thing. See, so that metaphor I didn't come up with, but I came up with a different metaphor when it comes to religion. And
Okay.
I see that, and it kind of relates to progressives and conservatives, but it also differs, because the way I see it is tradition and religion. A lot of people automatically want to tear it down if it's like if they think it's dumb, and that's unreasonable because there's certain traditions that are really really good, right? They keep the civilization going,
Yeah.
and I think this is where Christianity comes in. I think our civilization would collapse and fall into chaos if we don't continue, Christendom in a way, like the West, especially.
Okay. All
Okay,
right. All right. Sure. I'll buy that.
good, good. I'm glad you do. And so the way I
And
see it,
actually, there's a really we can get into the weeds on this because this is really really interesting actually, and I think there's a good biological explanation for what you're saying is true. But go ahead.
exactly, exactly. You probably even know parts of it better than I do, is because there's certain things. Now, I think there's certain unanswerable questions to life, and I don't even want to use the word unanswerable. Maybe there's just certain questions that it will take us years of research in order to find an answer. Okay? And I think
Yeah.
that's where religion comes in, especially Christianity in the West. Is that I think Christianity has answered so many of those questions already, but we forgot, we forgot why. And so nowadays we try to like find a scientific and you know, scientific, philosophical, psychological answer to every question. And I think if you do enough research, you will find that what's already written in the Bible is correct. Okay? And
I mean,
yeah.
like there are a lot of people. Well, I don't want to cut you off. I'll let you finish your thought. I'll let you finish your thought.
Okay. And so that's my thing. It's to me, that's one of the reasons I started even there are days sometimes where I have doubts in religion. I'm like, listen, there's centuries of what's it called? Reason why these these rules came to be. You know, and I mean the basic ones is like, first of all, there's nothing in the, for example, the Ten Commandments. There's nothing in the Ten Commandments you'll disagree with. Like logically, all 10 of the rules is very consistent and logical. Like don't steal, don't lie, don't murder, don't those are very normal things that we should do, right? Like logically, they're 100% sound, right?
Um, well, assuming that the premise is that following those rules would lead to a more stable society rather than a less stable one, yes.
Which it does, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying like they are logically consistent, assuming you use that premise and on another one.
Exactly. So if the Ten Commandments are already stable, why not follow the rest of the rules of the Bible?
Um, well, I mean, like you can turn that hypothetical on its head, right? Like if you like Jordan Peterson so much, right?
Yes.
And you think everything Jordan Peterson says is right.
Well, most of it,
and
yes.
Jordan Peterson says, "Go jump off a cliff." Are you going to jump off a cliff?
That's a good question. No, I guess I wouldn't.
Right.
Unless I don't know. Unless he says
like parts of a thing can be right. That doesn't mean that all of the thing is right.
right. Okay, that's interesting. But you're taking a person.
Like a teacher can teach a lesson about geography and get 95% of the lesson correct and get 5% of it wrong. That doesn't mean that because he's right about all of the other stuff that he's also right about what he's not right about.
Well, of course, but that's a teacher. I'm talking about the Bible itself. Like, I'm not saying to just listen to everything the Pope says. I'm saying no. Listen to what the Bible says. And
listen to the Scripture, which is a set of teachings, so it can
exactly.
be right about some things and wrong about other things.
And that's the part. The part that it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong. I think you're assuming. Like I don't think there's anything you'll find in the Bible that is wrong. Like again,
there's nothing in the Bible I could find that's wrong.
Yes, and again, besides
from a moral perspective, from a scientific perspective.
Yeah, okay, from moral, because obviously, like you'll find, like you could use the Virgin Mary and be like, oh, she didn't. That's wrong. She didn't give birth. Like, I'm talking like any. There's no moral lesson in the Bible that you'll find that's wrong. Yeah.
There is.
What moral lesson in the Bible?
All of the verses in the Old Testament about how to own slaves, telling you the proper way to own slaves, condoning slavery and slave ownership, just for example.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know the Old Testament that well. I thought Christians were the first ones to ban slavery, so that kind of surprises me.
Well, sure they were, but the Old Testament specifically condones slavery and tells people the proper way to own slaves.
Oh. Oh, well, that's horrible. But the funny thing is, there's not a single.
Not only that, I mean, you could use Yahweh, subjecting. What is that? That's not Cain and Abel. That's Abraham to kill his son. Obviously, he doesn't make him go through with it, but still, like I think you could argue that act is overly brutal and obviously like traumatic both for the son and for the father.
No, I wouldn't say that because he didn't. There was a test, okay, and that one, it was not even a moral, like. It's not even a lesson like, hey, fathers, you should take your sons. You know what I mean? It's not a lesson like that. It's just that's just one story.
It's an allegorical story. But if you were to assume that everything in the Bible is true, then that event actually happened, and that God led Abraham to believe that he would actually be murdering his son. And I would argue that that is obviously traumatic for the father and for the son.
Well, yeah, of course it is. But he did. That was just a story of a test. It's not really a moral lesson of telling us from now on everybody should take their sons and pretend to kill them.
I mean, I'm not even. Well, obviously that's true, yeah. But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that like that's even necessarily bad. All I'm saying is that like a lot of people consider that to be like obviously evil, right? Like not a moral act of God to do.
I wouldn't say they would.
Well, many people consider that an immoral act of God.
Not really. I think that was a test. Although, okay, I don't want to get hung up on this one Cain and Abel story. I'm saying in terms of moral lessons, certain questions that are answered, and laws that.
Well, not to mention all of the other events in the Old Testament, like the slaughtering of the Canaanites, the slaughtering of the Amalekites, where the Old Testament specifically says that he instructs Saul to kill not just the men, but kill all the women, kill all the children, kill even the livestock. And when Saul spares the king and a few of the livestock after the slaughter of the Amalekites, God says, God is angry with Saul, and God regrets his decision of making Saul king because Saul spared some of the livestock. And in that same chapter, I think it's in, I could look it up. Maybe it's in Acts.
No, it's fine.
Where it is, but they actually, like, people are fleeing out of the area. The purpose of this ethnic cleansing, of this genocide, was to get the land for the Israelites. And the Amalekites are running away from the land. They are forsaking the land. They're forsaking their castles, their cities. And God says to the Israelites, chase after them. Chase them down into the forests and murder them. Kill them. Because they, even though you possess ownership of the land now, but you still have to go and kill these people even though they're running away and pose no threat to you.
Oh, okay. See, I'm. I don't know much about that. You kind of come at me with the Old Testament, and I don't have good answers for that. I was ready to beat you down with the New Testament, but you hit me with the trump card. I was not ready for this. My point. No, my point is though, is the defense metaphor.
I'm disputing your claim that everything in the Bible is like morally correct or scientifically. I mean, we can get into the science of it too if you want to. But
no.
Like that everything in the Bible is morally correct, because it certainly isn't.
No, I'm saying in terms of the moral lessons, when there's a question that you don't know the answer to, you should trust the Bible. Because there's,
Why?
2,000 years of evolutionary psychology that helped us, keep the Western civilization going. Because of, the lessons of the Bible. Like, I don't think the West would exist without it.
I mean, that's also arguable, though. Like, I would say that those same lessons were taught by the Greek philosophers who were not followers of the Bible. They had never heard of the Bible. Like, they came up with the same, relatively the same value systems without the Bible.
No, but again, they had similar, but the Bible gave us better value system.
Well, again, I think that's arguable. I'm not sure you can say it's better.
Well, you can. You would agree that the West is the best, right? Like it's better to live in the West than anywhere else.
I mean, yes, of course, and that is largely in part due to the Bible and the teachings of Christians.
Exactly.
I'm not arguing that that's true.
Exactly.
All I'm saying is that that's also because of the Western tradition and Western philosophy, which originated in Greece, continued on through Europe, and then came into its own right again with the Enlightenment philosophers, which, by the way, did not use Bible reasoning to justify their beliefs. They used secular reasoning, and yet they arrived at the same conclusions.
Oh, okay, and that's the other part. Yeah, I think if you use secular and just scientific reasoning, you'll find that the lessons are good. Like there's a reason we have.
Read Locke, right? Locke is like probably the most famous Enlightenment thinker that basically echoed the traditions of Plato and Aristotle. And what he said was, like, if you read his books, the entire book is basically saying, like, he believes in the things that he does because of the fact that he's a Protestant, because of the fact that he's a Christian. But
oh, interesting.
But that all of the arguments laid out in his book, and he makes this very, very clear in all of his books, is that he does not want to argue the value of these ideas based on religion. He wants to argue the value of these ideas based on their secular logic.
Oh, interesting.
He makes all of his cases for why one should live the life that one should live based on secular logic and argumentation, not based on religion. He simply says, like, religion is what guides me in my life and what gives me conviction, but I'm laying out all these ideas with a secular framework.
Well, don't you think you should live the same life? You should let Christianity guide your life.
Well, I want that, but the problem is I can't force myself to believe it.
What do you right? So this is the part I don't understand. Is you want that? So why don't you live like that? Just
because I can't force myself to believe in something I don't.
No, of course not. And this is why I said at the beginning that I think I'm not saying, oh, you're going to convert tonight, but I do think these are seeds that I'm planting into your brain that it's going to take a couple of weeks or months for you to convert, because I think you're a logical person, and logically, Christians, on average, statistically has been proven, they live happier lives, they live more fulfilling lives. Um, you know,
I can believe that.
Yeah, everybody exactly. Yeah, everybody wants to have wife and kids and go to church on Sundays and have dog and white picket fence. You know what I mean? That's a basic thing everybody wants.
Right. So, like, I mean, I can tell you my reasoning for why I think that happens. Like, it's very simple. It's much easier to be told what to believe than it is to figure out what to believe.
That's a good sentence. It is easier to be told what to believe than to figure out what to believe. I 100% agree with that. It's so hard to figure out what to believe. That's why I'm saying you should become a Christian and follow Christianity. Because it's hard.
Because it's easier?
Yes, and it's harder to figure out what to believe.
So, one of, like, my core guiding tenets, like, something that I believe, like, to my core as a human being, is that the struggle of discernment, of figuring out what to believe and figuring out what is right and what is wrong, is like the value of living. Like, I don't think I would enjoy living if I didn't have that challenge.
Interesting. I never know that about it. Okay, so why don't you use Christianity and try to find logical reasons why. I mean, I feel like Jordan Peterson's kind of doing that because he has a new series on, like, it's a paid series on his own website, where I think they it's called Exodus or something. It's like Foundation of the West. Yeah, isn't that what they're doing? They're trying to
well, he's examining the, like, I guess, like, symbolical and philosophical implications of the story of Exodus.
Yeah, and I think just he does that a lot with other lessons in the Bible. Like,
well, yes, like, that's the thing about the Bible, and this is something Peterson has said that I agree with, is that the wellspring of, like, symbology and philosophical, what's the term? The wellspring of symbology and philosophical, I guess, meaning is boundless. Like that well goes on forever. Of the Bible. Like, of the symbology and meaning that you can draw from the Bible goes on infinitely.
oh, that's interesting. It's the well.
But I would argue that that's true for all philosophical thought. Like, Scanlon wrote this in his book on how we should treat each other. And like, his book is called What Do We Owe to Each Other? And in the end of the book, he says that
Wow.
I'm paraphrasing it, but
No, that's an interesting sentence. And that's what I'm saying. Like, for the stuff that you don't know, isn't it easier for you to just follow Christian morality? Or do you have to, like,
yes, it's easier. Undoubtedly, it's easier. Yeah.
yeah. And,
But I'm not really interested in what's easy. I'm interested in what's true.
right, and don't you think if you do hundreds of hours of research, you'll find, like, there's logical reasons for all the stories and lessons of the Bible, including the Old Testament?
Um, Probably you could find justifications and reasons for just about anything. The problem with doing that, well, and I do that actually, by the way. But
Oh, okay.
the problem with doing that is that, how do I phrase this? Like, let me think about this for a second.
Okay.
So, yes, you can find a justification for anything. I mean, you could justify murder, rape, or any, myriad number of horrendous acts. It doesn't necessarily mean that whatever the action was or whatever the story was has truth value. Like, it doesn't mean that there's actual truth value.
No, of
Like,
course.
a story can just be a story to elucidate a point.
No, of course, but I'm talking about something that, again, majority of the happiest people and the most fulfilled lives are usually Christians.
Well, it's interesting because you're making a utilitarian argument. You're
Yeah.
saying that, like, you should chase the good. You should chase the utility or the good, essentially. And that by you, like, following Christianity, you're more easily achieving the good. Which is actually a pretty reasonable argument to make.
Yeah.
Ignoring the fact that you can't just choose what to believe, because then it wouldn't be a belief, it would be a choice. But putting that aside, right?
Yeah.
Just because something has more goodness doesn't mean that it has more truth.
That's an interesting statement. But I'm also saying something that is so successful and just so and you agree it's like fundamental to Western civilization. It's got to be true, shouldn't it? If it's so good.
Well, no. I mean, no is like the short answer to that. Like,
Right.
It could be more true than other things, and it could be less true than other things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Does it mean it's the truth? No. But it also doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't the truth. Like, it could be. I've never denied that Christianity is true and that the Bible is the Word of God and all of these things. I don't deny these things.
Oh, okay, good.
Because I can't. It would be foolish to attempt to deny it.
Right. Well, fair enough. And okay, it's almost been 30 minutes, and uh, and yeah, this was pretty much my argument this whole time. Is that I think you can be Christian and still follow logic and reason, and I think just 2025 years of Christianity and civilization is something that I would use um, for you to follow.
Well, also, like, civilization existed for a pretty long time prior to Jesus.
Oh, of course, but again, it wasn't as good. Like we all agreed that.
Well, we don't know that, though. Like, you didn't live in those times. How can you say it wasn't as good?
No, but okay. What do you mean? Like we have historical facts, like historical evidence that it wasn't as fun. Obviously, you'd rather be alive.
We do. What are
What do you mean? Like you'd rather live in like ancient Egypt uh, than today? Wouldn't you rather be alive today than ancient Egypt?
Well, yes, of course I'd rather be alive today, but that's largely a product of science and technology.
Right. And don't you notice it's only in the Christian societies that they have the most science and technology?
It is?
Well, no. Okay, I take that back. You're right. It's not. Although what's funny is like I was thinking of Japan, which is not really Christian. Japan is and South Korea are like only the Christians in those societies are having kids. So honestly, we'll see in 20, 30 years what happens to those guys.
Well, okay, sure, but like,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't think that argument really holds weight, but
yeah.
um, I like, let's say, would you rather live in Egypt, or like, I don't like, I want to see the evidence what you're talking about. Like, was it worse to live in ancient Egypt, 4,000, 4,500 years ago? That's civilization, right? Or was it worse to live, 2,000 years later at the birth of Christ? Like, I don't necessarily think that one is worse than the other. Like, I don't think you can definitively say that, let's say living in Turkey or something in 0 AD is definitively better than living in Egypt in 2000 BC.
I'm sorry. Say it one more time. Living in Turkey in what? Say it one more time.
Living in Turkey in 0 AD is so much better than living in Egypt in 2000 BC.
I mean, isn't it?
I mean, I don't think so. No.
Okay, but you would agree that right now you'd rather live in a Christian country than a non-Christian country.
Um. I mean, yeah. I guess. I mean, yeah. I guess.
Yeah,
Like, I would rather live in the West, which is largely Christian.
correct.
So, I mean, yes. The answer to that is yes. Sure.
Okay. Well, anyway,
But I'm failing to see the leap of logic that automatically makes Christianity true. Like, just because living somewhere as Christian is better doesn't mean that the Bible is the word of God and Scripture is true.
no. Again, I think these are the things that lead.
Also, there's another component to this, which is ignoring the idea that false things can be beneficial, which is, I think, very obviously the case.
No, sorry. False things can be beneficial.
Yeah.
What do you mean? God. Okay. Sorry, my headache's getting so much
Like,
worse.
things
Yeah.
that are objectively not true can benefit an individual or a society.
I don't think they can.
I think they very obviously can. There's lots of examples.
What do you mean? Give me one.
Placebo effect.
Oh. I do think. Oh my God, my head is exploding. Sorry. Uh, again,
Medicine.
no, it's just food. I gotta eat. The thing is, we okay. You know what? Maybe we'll have a part two to this conversation. But my whole point was that I think. I mean, the funny thing is, you agree that your life will be easier and happier and more fulfilling if you were Christian, right?
Sure, but is it closer to the truth?
Well, I think it is, and I think that's the whole point. Is we have thousands of years of civilization to prove it. That's pretty much was my method.
Your argument is that like it produces a better result, therefore it must be true. I don't think the like end of that argument like fits the premise. Like I wouldn't agree that fulfills the premise.
Right. Well, I think it.
I mean, you think it does, and that's fine. Like I
Sure.
don't agree with that.
Sure. Fair enough. I'm gonna end the video. I was recording. It's been 35 minutes. I'm gonna go
Like,
eat.
there's lots of examples. Hold on, before you go eat, right? Well, one more thing.
Okay, well,
You can have lots of premarital sex, okay?
yeah,
You can go and be a hoe.
yeah,
That feels good. That brings you lots of pleasure, right? But
yeah.
there's lots of good reasons for why that is terrible for you.
Right. So no, but that's what I'm saying. Pleasure doesn't mean good. Um, that's why I use the word fulfillment and not pleasure. I think
Okay, yeah, sure.
I think your life will be much more fulfilling if you were a Christian, and you even agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I can play lots of chess games. I can win a beautiful chess game and feel fulfilled, right? Does that mean that is like the best, truest, use of my time? Probably not.
Well, no, but there's no instruction or holy book that told you to play chess a lot.
Well, maybe there should be, right? Like, okay, I can make a holy book that says that. Like, what makes that thing any less true than holy books that already exist?
Yeah, well, again, you can't. I mean, you can, but it will fail.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah. So anyway,
Hard to say.
let me. Okay. Um. So these are the seeds.
Go eat, bro. Go eat. Go eat. Go eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me.